US lawmakers are now calling on the Justice Department to release details on the search of the former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The Justice Department still have not released the affidavit they used to support the search warrant. Many Republicans are continuing to show their support for Trump while casting doubt on the operation and what it found. Joining me live is former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Fellow at the US Studies Centre, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, great to see you. Bring us up to speed here. Where's this all at the moment?
Actually, there's a news update. It's amazing how things seem to happen to us on Tuesday morning and in your time, Monday night, my time. When we did this last week, the story was breaking about the FBI raid, and the DOJ just put out a statement within about the last half an hour saying that they absolutely positively were not going to release the affidavit that you just mentioned. Under our system, Laura, that affidavit is the document, it's the evidence that the government gives to a court when they're trying to justify a search warrant for purposes of going into somebody's home. So it's an absolutely critical document. And Trump has some familiarity with it because this was the document that contained false information back in 2016 when the government got permission to spy on the Trump campaign. So that's why it's everybody sort of knows what these things are and they understand how important they are. And the DOJ came out just in the last little bit here and said that under no circumstances were they going to release that. It would give away much too much information. It would expose certain witnesses to risk and so forth. So I think the folks like myself who've been asking to see that affidavit are going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, without seeing the affidavit, what are you sceptical about at all? Are you sceptical about the need for the raid in the first place?
I am. I'm skeptical about the need to go into somebody's house. Keep in mind, from best we can tell right now, the Trump team was cooperating with the FBI. And the FBI had actually been down to Mar-a-Lago and walked through the building in June. It's unclear if they took documents when they left then or they identified documents and the president's team then sent them. But the FBI, pursuant to a subpoena, went over to Mar-a-Lago and walked through things and identified a bunch of documents. That seems like would be the ordinarily next step here. If you think there were documents you missed, if you had a witness saying, by the way, y'all missed some very important documentation, there's some top secret stuff that's still there, one might expect that the next step would be to call the lawyers and say, we forgot this stuff, can we go back in and take it out, as opposed to getting a search warrant. Search warrant means that you have to be able to convince a court under our system that the evidence is in imminent danger of being destroyed or moved. And I'm not sure what evidence they would offer to that end. So, yeah, the fact that it was a search warrant and not a subpoena has got some folks wondering why this is going down the way that it is.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I guess some of the public explanations from Donald Trump seem to have gone back and forth in true Trump style. First of all, saying they weren't classified documents, then saying he declassified them. And to my knowledge, he hasn't explained any of the destroying or supposed destroying of documents.
And some of the information seems like it's false or inaccurate. The president tweeted out that they had taken his safe. There doesn't seem to be any indication in the search warrant that the government was looking at the safe. And then the receipt, which has been made public, that's the list of things that the government took out of Mar-a-Lago, doesn't make any reference to the safe. Today, a couple hours ago, the president tweeted out that they had also taken his passports, a very unusual step. And again, that's not on the search warrant and not in the receipt that the government gave the Trump team either. So the president, we're not sure if just the information the government's giving us is wrong or the information he's giving us is wrong. But it's one of those things where no one's willing to come forward and actually say what's happening and sort of lay the cards on the table. It leaves a lot of conjecture on both sides.
Okay, it's the Mulvaney mood time. That means, what has all of this done to the midterms and to Donald Trump's likelihood of running for president again?
Yeah, this is a new segment, I guess, the mood of the nation is look, I think you ask me this question every time I come on, and every time I tell you I think he's probably going to run. I'll be perfectly candid. The level of sympathy within the Republican Party and some centrists towards the president has been palpable this week. I'm talking about President Trump now. There have been hardcore Democrats and left-leaning legal analysts on television all this week in this country saying that this invasion may have been too much. It may have been dangerous. It may have been unnecessary. That includes Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat candidate for the presidency. So it is garnering President Trump some sympathy in some circles. And I think it actually makes it more likely that he's going to run and less likely that some of the names you and I have thrown around in the past will run against him. Last week, if there were 10 Republicans who were thinking about running against Trump, this week it might be down to 5 or 6, and that list may be getting smaller.
Mick Mulvaney, the mood. Good, glad we've got a hold on that this morning. And not a new segment, but we are going to keep on asking the question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mick Mulvaney, good to talk to you. We'll speak to you again next week. We are fast approaching the midterms, of course, and all of these things play into the mood of America and the likelihood of Donald Trump running for president again.